Welcome to The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lane. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and local advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
And welcome to The Mountain Gardener, your host, Ken Lane, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona and the first week of the year. Isn't it nice? We've had a little bit of snow. There's a dusting at least. There's a lot of ice. I don't think you need to water a lot right now. As soon as this thaws, though, for pretty much most of northern Arizona, you can start pruning at your leisure. So it's a big window for pruning throughout the year. So we'll start pruning typically here in the mountains from January 1 through March, something like that. And I thought I would cover some of that here on this show. Just how do you start the process? I would say first and foremost, the easiest of all of the plants is perennials. Those are the flowering things that typically hibernate underground, but then come back fresh every year from the ground. So they're typically like carnations and what are they? Echinaceas and lilies, and there's all these series of flowers. California poppy is probably the most famous of them all. Of course, they're all brown, kind of laying over, and they're looking really bad, especially after all this weather. You can just go through, and as soon as you can get out there or want to start pruning back, you can prune all of those back, usually with a line trimmer, or I use a lawnmower, hedge shears, pruners, whatever it takes. It doesn't matter. All that top material is completely dead. I mean, it's just been vaporized, just brown, looks like straw. Typically, I've got, for my gardens, I've got it where I can go with the lawnmower, just the electric lawnmower, and go right over it, and I just mulch it right on top of each other, which is perfectly fine as long as you didn't have a lot of disease or mildew, insects. If there were no problems, just go and mulch it and have it right there on top of the ground. If you did have a lot of, let's say, powdery mildew issues, this is white spores that kind of cover the foliage, last typically summer through fall, so it's been a couple months. If those things were if you're having issues with that, cut those back by hand, then throw those away. Burn them, get rid of them. You don't want them on the property. Those spores can come right back at you. It's the same with roses. As you start pruning roses, it's not quite time to prune roses. Typically, we'll start that in March. That's the ideal month for roses, all roses. But if you had some mildew issues, prune them back by hand and then get rid of that stuff. Don't compost them. Don't keep them in the yard. Just throw them in the trash can or the burn pile, whatever it takes. You country folks, you know what a burn pile is because you're out there in the rough and you can just do that. We used to have burn piles in Skull Valley that were the size of barns. I mean, the flames would go up 15 feet in the air. They was huge. It was fun. But you had acreage, big fields that you can control this. And so that's kind of where you start. Perennials. Start with those, and you've got now through March. Don't feel like you're rushed. But when you want to get out there, go for it. Here in this central highlands, I'd say that's Payson, definitely Sedona, Camp Verde, Cottonwood, the Prescott area. It really goes over to Kingman, those areas. This swath through the middle of the state. This is Central Highlands. This is chaparrals. This is manzanitas and junipers and ceanothus and oaks. These grow wild here. Lots of wild grasses like bear grass, miscanthus. There's so many native types of plants. It's time to prune those things back when you want. These are a zone 7. So you've got, when you're looking at your garden zones, typically it goes from 1 to about 10, 11, 12. That's the desert stuff. 10, 8, 9, 10 is really, you're getting down to Black Canyon City and Phoenix, Tucson. There's a whole separate zone, and those plants won't grow up here because they don't like the cold of winter, and our plants won't grow down there because they don't like the heat of summer. And so there's this change. So as you come up that hill from I-17, the zones change almost instantly. You could watch it change. Watch those saguaros. They start where they're everywhere at the bottom. Then as you come up the hill, you're seeing that the saguaros will only be facing the south, where the sunny areas are, and they disappear from the shadowy, cooler, shadowed areas. And so you can just almost watch those garden zones change as you're coming up very rapidly. Once you crest up to Sunset Point, Spring Valley, Quartz Junction, those areas, you're at a totally different zone. Totally different kinds of plants will grow there. Saguaros will not grow up here. Prickly pear will, choyas, a few cacti. Really, we're more famous for yuccas, agaves, prickly pears, of course. These are our native. Manzanita, we're more famous for those. The Phoenix folks wish they could grow manzanita, but it's too hot for them. They need the winter cold to really do well. In fact, they're really looking good right now. Nothing like a manzanita with a little dustiness snow on them that just brings out that color and that red bark going down to the trunk. It's magnificent. And so those plants, they're used to this higher altitude. This would be a zone 7. I would say you folks up in Flagstaff, Williams, the White Mountains, you know who you are, so you're tuned in. So those are going to be a zone typically 5 to 6, depending on your elevation and which, if you're east, south facing, you might be a zone warmer. If you're north and direct west facing, you're probably a little bit colder. And so the reason for that, or if you're down in a little dip-de-doo, as you walk your neighborhoods, you'll feel the cold air settle in the ravines. That'll be a zone colder. Up on the hilltops, or in the south facing of a hilltop especially, or morning sun. I find my best gardens are facing the morning sun because when it's cool, that sun pops up in spring, like late February, March. It's still chilly. The sun pops up, warms them right up, and they go, oh, okay, well, that wasn't so bad. Let's grow. And so those are some of my best gardens. In my backyard, that's north facing. There's still lots of snow on the ground, and it's not going to thaw anytime soon. So on the other south areas, yeah, they're already thawed. And so those gardens are much cooler. So things grow a little differently down there. So in my own yard, I've got 2 different zones, a zone 7. And up front, I almost flirt with zone 8. I grow quite a few zone 8 plants like barrel cactus and Mexican palms, some freaky weird stuff that you really can't grow, but gardeners, they just like to try it anyway. So I just try it. And then I've got all the other lilacs, forsythias, and butterfly bush, and Russian sage, and all the other common ones. So all of those can be pruned back now. So the one I would say I posted on our Instagram page this week. I was walking the neighborhood in that snow, and the autumn sage, or Salvia gregii is the Latin name. Salvias, I would wait. They're a zone 7B, zone 8. They're a borderline plant, really. So for the borderline, they love the heat. They bloom from May through November. They're amazing. Hummingbirds love them. They grow about, just below hip high, kind of nice little ball shaped, and they were magnificent. Now they look like twigs coming out of the ground. They look a little rough, and I want to prune them back, but I'll wait until we get through the coldest of the cold. Now, this is the first week in January. We're just past our shortest day of the year last week. And so typically about 2-3 weeks after our shortest day, which was December 21st, it's going to be your coldest day of the year. And so typically that's going to be the middle of January for the mountains. Get past the coldest of the winter for those borderline plants and then cut them back. So I would wait. I'm going to wait until middle to the end of February, March, and I'll prune back. When I'm pruning my roses, I typically will prune back my salvias. You want to keep that structure up. And the picture that I took, the snow had rested or covered the heart of that plant. It was insulating it. And it's always the day after a storm clears out. That's when things get damaged. It gets really cold when those clouds clear off. It gets really cold, and that's where the damage gets done. Well, if that snow is over there protecting the heart of it, you've got the structure of the plant sitting there. It helps protect that plant so it gets through a colder winter. So anyway, Lisa Watersline coming in with your garden questions right after this.
You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him every week for timely garden advice right for the gardens. Visit Ken where he can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
Hi, Ken here with the plants of the week and our Arizona cypress.
If you want low-maintenance natives, easy care, and reduced water use, then this is the evergreen for you.
When planted in rows, they block the wind, traffic noise, and make the perfect privacy screen, all for under $40.
Comes in an Arizona blue, easy to grow, and prefers monsoon planting.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love native evergreens, they love to shop.
My living room feels so empty.
Now that the Christmas tree is gone, the house just seems so blah.
Brighten it up with a big, bold, beautiful plant from Waters Garden Center.
Fill that cavernous space with tall tropicals, colossal cactus, and sizable succulents that bring the great outdoors indoors.
Make a gorgeous green space you can enjoy all year, not just for a season.
Unique, exclusive, one-of-a-kind houseplants found only at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
You've been listening to Ken Lane, the Mountain Gardener. Green thumbs learned while working in the Family Garden Center. Now welcome back to the Mountain Gardener.
All right, so we are back with Lisa Watersline in the studio. She comes each week with your gardening questions. What are other people talking about? Kind of a sedate week. It's kind of like the stock market. There's trading this at new highs this week, but it was low volume. So it's kind of, we've been shut down for the Christmas through January season, kind of gave the crew time off to spend time with family. Back at it on Monday, which seems like, it's just like tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So thank you for my Christmas gift and Happy New Year's, my dear. New Year. Yeah. Isn't it nice to have last year over with? Oh my gosh.
Let's hope 2022 is better than 21, which I thought was going to be better than 20. I guess it was.
I don't know if it was or not. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't. It's got more weird is what it did. We did 2022, 2020. You felt like everyone's going to die. And we found out some friends did. Yeah. And then 2021, we figured we could live, but then everything's all screwed up in business wise, governments, leadership, it's a supply chain, all these weird ripples just went through. So it just you didn't know how to operate. Everything was abnormal. This year, you just never know. Every year is different.
You don't know, but you know what people need to do?
Garden more. Take a deep breath. Medicate.
That's your answer to everything.
Take up drinking.
Garden more. Well, you can drink and garden.
There's nothing better than a glass of wine in a vineyard.
Ooh, yeah. That's true. Or your own yard.
So for when we launched one of our kids to college, she went to Fresno Pacific in Fresno, of course, Christian college right there in the middle of that Central Valley. And so we drove her there and said, honey, we're going to drop you off to college. We're going to borrow your car till we go to Monterey. Went up to the Redwoods, back around to Sacramento. So our first home we ever bought, came back down, dropped it off a week later and said, how was college? And it flew off to a business meeting after that. It was awesome. But one of them, Napa, we biked around Napa. So you sample the wines, bike to the next vineyard. It was super fun.
That was fun.
So much fun. I would do that again. Yeah, done. Book it.
Okay. Tomorrow.
So, what do we have garden-wise? What are people talking about as far as questions?
Well, sure.
Everything good?
People are still thinking gardens. Gardeners always think gardens. So, well, we have a question from Brenda in Prescott. She bought some frost protectors to go around some of her more cold-sensitive plants.
Okay.
Question is, can she just leave them on through the winter, or do they need to be on, off kind of thing?
So I don't know what a frost protector is. I'm imagining it's either a mini hoop house or some fabric that she's probably usually white fabric as frost cover. And so it just depends on if it's got foliage, don't leave it on. If it's just bare, that is just twigs, it's deciduous, it lost its leaves, gone dormant, you could probably leave it on. So it just depends on what it is. Quite honestly, most deciduous plants, they're pretty cold hardy. They don't need that. So you probably she's dealing with really borderline stuff. So funky cacti from Phoenix, barrel cactus, that kind of stuff. You can cover those. I would say they need the sun.
Yep.
So I would take it off during the day, let them get sun, let them warm up, and then put it back on at night. Mm-hmm. Night is when the damage is going to happen with those really borderline things. Mm-hmm. If it's things like lettuce, your cool season garden stuff, those things can almost go without any cover, although they would produce even stronger, better, more if you could cover it at night. And so, or keep the snow off. It just, that snow actually covers it where the flavor comes out. It's better, but it can't see the sun, so it doesn't grow as fast. So photosynthesis stops while it's cold like that. Yeah. So you can keep that off of them. It'll be better. So come see us more. Bring a picture, cell phones. We can help you get more exact detail than just should it take it off or not? What's the plant? I don't know. Where is it? It's north, south, east, west. I don't know. Plus, we like talking to gardeners in winter. We need someone to talk to.
We have a neighbor. We've been walking the dogs. One of our neighbors landscaped last summer, and he put in more cactus, things like that. And I'm really curious to watch how they do this winter, because some of them I know to be borderline golden barrel cactus.
Right.
Usually we just say indoors, indoors, indoors. So it will be quite interesting to see how those things go through the winter here.
We have some Mediterranean mounds, which are very specialized, very unusual cacti. We've got some red fishhook barrel cactus. Really, that's a barrel with like sex appeal. It's really pretty. My God, red tips that curl. Yeah, it's really cool. Neat. Palm trees. We just bring them up close to the house underneath that overhang. Go, winter over here, because there ain't no room in the house for you. This is for company and Christmas trees and decorations and celebrations, not for a palm tree. Right. If you die outside, fine. It's been doing that. It's been growing for years. 4 years. Yeah. We've got a banana, hardy banana that we're testing. Yeah. Looks like it's going to come back.
It's actually doing well. Yeah.
Yep. It's underneath the deck, basically, outdoors, up against the house.
So it's completely dormant in the wintertime.
Yeah. It's like a perennial.
There. Yeah. Yeah. So fun to play with those kind of things, but don't count on them coming back all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is from Sandy. She's looking forward to next spring as well.
Me too, Sandy.
And she would like to put in some blueberries. So her question is, what's the best place for them in the yard? Best soil type? How many do you need? Just kind of a general overview.
So blueberries, how to grow better blueberries. Blueberries do better in pairs. So they're kind of like fruit trees. They pollinate each other. There's a few that do it by themselves, but even those will do better with a buddy. So buy 2 different types of blueberries. That's a secret. And then there's some that do better in this southern exposure. There's lots of Minnesota, Wisconsin. They're cold hardy. So, and they will grow here, but it's not so much that, it's the dryness and that kind of stuff. So, and then do you have size? Do you have room? Some of them get really big, so they're coming out with new dwarf varieties. The real secret with blueberries that's different than, let's say, a raspberry or a blackberry. They like really acidic soil. So blackberries, they don't care. They'll take any kind of soil. Alkaline actually brings out the flavor more. They're kind of like grapes. They'll take that alkalinity. Raspberries, the certain ones really produce well with alkalinity. Not blueberries. They like acid. They want solid acid soil, and that's where they grow wild up in the Midwestern areas. So make sure you got a soil that's real rich, peaty, compost, really organically rich. Don't just take a blueberry and throw it in your backyard and expect it to grow and thrive. It won't. It'll turn yellow, anemic. It won't produce berries. If they are, they're really small. But if you put it in a raised bed, there it's where it's going to really thrive. A container, just a big pot with regular potting soil, a peat moss rich. Peat moss is very acidic, which blueberries They love that.
Right.
And then whenever you're fertilizing, make sure you fertilize with an acidic type of soil. So that's where our all-purpose food, it's got a lot of soil sulfurs and things, cottonseed meal, things that make it more acidic. Blueberries, things that like acid will respond to that. I would say the same thing holds for hollies, hydrangeas. There's a whole series of plants that love azaleas. They love more acidic kind of soil. So plan for it. You can give them acidic soil if you think ahead of time and prep the soil, then plant them. Right. If you just chuck them out in the yard, that's when they struggle. They get off color, they get yellow.
Yeah. So what would you say for light? Kind of maybe more eastern exposure or afternoon shade, or so full sun okay?
They'll take full sun. Okay. I would say more sun equals more berries. I would say give them at least 6 hours.
Okay.
They won't take in the full shade, or they'll be pretty, but they won't form the berries. They need to have that photosynthesis to really produce the fruit that you want. Okay. So we've had ours right out there on the patio of all things in the full sun.
It's true.
But it had great soil. It had Water's potting soil, which is peat moss. And so it produced and grew for years. True. All right, so we are out of time. Ken and Lisa Lane, the Mountain Gardeners. Be right back right after this.
You're listening to Ken Lane, a.k.a. the Mountain Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Garden Center. Listen each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to mountain gardens.
Gardening and you don't know where to start?
Waters in-home garden service comes to you and identifies what you have and how to make it better.
Design advice, water strategies, vegetable and flower gardens, soil and food needs, and problem solving. Always problem solving.
You'll instantly be a better gardener.
All for just $200 of expert time with a coupon to fill your garden dreams without ever leaving home.
In-home garden consultations from Waters Garden Center.
We can be at your home this week.
Hi, Lisa with the plants of the week and our Goshiki Holly.
Goshiki translates from Japanese as holly with 5 colors. Its new leaves emerge red, then turn green.
The entire top of this holly is draped in colors of cream, white, gray, yellow, and green.
This evergreen makes the perfect accent, hedge, or evergreen container for its all-round good looks.
A really nice plant that shines through winter is just $39.
Waters Garden Center, where people who love Japanese gardens, they love to shop.
You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Join the conversation every week as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Now welcome back your host, Ken Lane.
I had mentioned at the start of the show that you wanted to wait on certain plants, and then you want to proceed quickly on others. So start now. So there's kind of a hierarchy or a which ones to go after first. Right now you're starting with fruit trees, shade trees, evergreens. I would wait on things like roses. I'd wait on Salvia gregariana. I mentioned why. I'd wait on the evergreens, especially the privacy screens like red tip photinia. It's a very popular plant. If you prune it back right now, which you could do fine, it's super hardy, it's tough as nails, but you sort of want to wait on that one, or I do personally, just to keep it looking good in the yard. They're going to start growing in March. You're starting to set some buds right now, but what I would do is I would put that on the last of the bushes that I would prune back, and I would do those typically in February, March, because they're going to start growing the end of March, April, and so they can look a little beat up. They look butchered and right after pruning, and so they'll flush that new growth and cover that up. So I always try to prune those back right before they're going to start flushing their new growth. That way they don't look so bad for as long. So right now, enjoy the green. I would do the same thing with cotoneaster. Those are evergreen, kind of hardy native shrubs. I'd do it on my junipers. I'd wait on those. Wait till they just start to flush their spring growth, which will be in March. And so then they'll just elongate right through spring and get bigger and bolder and stronger and fuller from that point forward. So kind of don't feel like you're in a rush to do everything all at once. Take your time. you got 3 months to pull that off. I would start with things that, like crepe myrtles, your summer blooming things. I'd start with Rose of Sharon's, butterfly bush, things that bloom, smoke bush. Prune those things back now. Start first and foremost with those. Shade trees. I'd prune back your the maples and aspens and locusts. They start to grow to the ground, and so you want to prune those branches back so you form it and shape it. So go after those things. There's really 2 ways to prune, let's say trees, a fruit tree, whatever. One is thinning, and the other one's called heading. So heading is where you just cut back the bulk, give it a haircut, kind of trim it back. A lot of your hedgerows, that's heading. So you're just cutting back the thinning is you're following that branch right back to where it connects to another branch, and you cut that entire branch and thin it right out of there, all the way back. Whereas heading, let's say like your head, like your hair, heading, you're taking head shears. You just kind of whack it back, or just kind of real quickly take some wild branches growing out, just cut it back real quick. That's heading. Most of your fruit trees and things, you're going to be thinning those. So you want to strategically go after and follow that branch back, and then cut it back where it connects to another branch, and so it opens up the structure of that plant. Things like butterfly bush, I would say Russian sage, you can prune back right now. Those things, I'll head those so butterfly bush gets 10 feet tall. It's crazy. It needs to be cut back. And so I want to keep it down to that hip to chest high level and have all those butterfly flowers that kind of come up all summers, fall, and autumn long. I want to get it back to where it's under control without taking over entire sections of the yard. So there I'll start with heading it, just get it back where I can control it. And then I'm looking for some of those, I want to thin some of the other trunky pieces out of there. I'll track that butterfly bush right back to the ground, and I'll cut a major trunk off right at the ground level. And what that does, you get better flowers from vibrant new growth, and you get vibrant new growth from brand new branches. So it's kind of rosarians know what I'm talking about. The older trunks on a rose look really thick and barky, and the thorns you just want to rip your face off. They just look overgrown. But the ones that have the best flowers have this vibrant green to them. They're just so young and supple, and they're just so flexible. Those form the biggest, best flowers. And so I'll cut back 1 or 2 of these major trunky branches of my butterfly bush, and I just want to thin some of those out. And that'll keep that alive a little bit longer. What happens is some of these plants, they actually overgrow themselves, and they become old, and they just stop blooming as well. And so I want to take out some of those. It keeps them younger. It's kind of like giving them a facial, I guess. It just keeps all the wrinkles out, kind of makes them all look supple and young, and keeps those new branches coming up and reaching for the sun and blooming their hearts out. You can encourage that as a gardener. You can give your plants a facial. That's how you do it. I just explained it in like 6 minutes or less. So there's a strategy to that. I would do that for roses, crepe myrtles, Rose of Sharon. There's several blooming shrubs typically that will help with. Fruit trees is a whole nother subject. In fact, I'll tell you how to get a handout. I've got that published online. I'll show you where to get that towards maybe the next segment or so. But we got to go to another break. Be right back. Lisa Watersling coming in with her segment right after this.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for timely garden advice right for higher elevations. Guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Let's talk poop. Hey, I'm Tommy at Waters Garden Center. Ken and Lisa are out right now, so I snuck in to remind you that it's time to add some manure to your garden. It's been a wet winter, and your soil is, well, pooped. Waters Barnyard Manure adds nutrients to get your garden growing. It's organic and odorless, so we really can say our poop don't stink. Buy 6 bags or more. They're only $5.99. Now that's a load of crap.
Tommy, what's going on?
Oh, poop, gotta go. Natural, safe, odorless, and organic at Waters Garden Center.
Hi, Lisa with the plants of the week and our Austrian pine.
We have instantaneous trees just in and ready for planting.
This pine has the same long needles as our ponderosa pine without all the problems, and these trees are really big and bold.
This is the fastest growing of the pines, and lots of sizes to choose from, but the $249 model is exceptionally big.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, for people who love big, bold pines. They love to shop. You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening is very rewarding, with a few Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts sure to turn your thumbs even greener. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And we're back with Lisa Waters Lane in the studio. She comes each week and just her segment, what she talks about. I never quite know. I hope it's always either about me or gardening. Either one will do. You can choose, and the audience will be enthralled.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Anyway, so welcome back to the studio, Lisa.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
So one beauty of owning a garden center is, you have these ebbs and flows of different departments. And so right now it's just winter evergreens. We're about ready to start switching on spring. So we'll fill the garden center up with fruit trees. We're already starting here in 2-3 weeks. The fruit trees will start showing up. Shade trees, the blooming shrubs like lilacs will start this tidal wave of plants. Yeah. And so we've just come off of living Christmas trees. We saw so many pine and spruce. You can hardly keep up, but there's this lull in winter. And so we always do a remodel project at the house every winter and at the garden center.
Just because we wouldn't want to sit still at all.
Well, no, don't want to rest. Keep pushing, go forward. I think part of that's entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Just kind of, it's hard to get the bar to click just a little bit higher. It's easy for things to stay the same. It's really hard to move the dial a little bit as a community leader or a business leader. You folks that are running big companies and divisions, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, we remodeled the house, and the very last room in the house is now we've owned this house for 20 years, the last room. So the kitchen's been done, the master's all been done, all the flooring and trims and lights, inside, outside. The outside's been remodeled twice.
Yeah, that's true.
We finally got the guest bathroom, the simplest of all the rooms.
The last one.
And we're just pulling out the old tile. It has tile on top of tiles. This is an older house.
Yeah.
Pulling that out. And Lisa's going, oh, finally, we can start over in the other houses. How cool. That's discouraging as we're just getting into this project.
Well, like you said, you got to keep moving forward.
So we ordered, we're going to upgrade our house to be more plugged in. So we have an Alexa bathroom fan. Alexa, play country. Alexa, what's the weather? Alexa, up lights, down lights, turn them blue, turn them. And we have a toilet that will do the same thing. It glows.
Do you remember? There's
Auto open.
Not an old show, but a show called Eureka.
Oh yeah.
And the house was like alive.
It would speak
almost,
to you. Yeah.
And at one point it turned against the owner. That's what I'm thinking our house is
that could happen. Yeah.
One day it'll just be like, no, I'm not letting you back in. Sorry.
Yeah, the locks, everything, the garage door, everything's connected.
Yes, it's frightening.
So can't wait for a new refrigerator. Have it connected. There's some now that will tell you when you're out of eggs. That's what I need. Or I could just open the door. That might be easier. I don't know. Then I'll have to find the app to figure out what to connect all the devices. The problem is they aren't connecting that well. So the Nest doesn't go to the Arlo, which doesn't go to the Alexa, which doesn't go to
the scary thing is this is all on your cell phone.
Well,
so if something happens to Ken, I will be locked out of my house. I won't be able to operate my bathroom. My refrigerator.
You've got kids. They'll come over and help you with all this stuff. I like it's kind of this technology, sort of like a jigsaw puzzle, because it's not intuitive. You have to actually know a little bit of coding and how to connect and networks and how to have your You just got to know some stuff.
So they lied to us. They told us all this new technology will make our lives so easy.
As long as it's running, it
They
does.
lied to us.
The second it crashes, those Philip Hue lights, they don't. Those are the biggest pain in the derriere ever, but they're cool when they work.
Well, you know what does make your life better?
Gardening.
That.
Love.
You're missing the segment.
Oh, okay.
Totally missing the segment.
I'm listening. We're all listening, right, folks?
Houseplants.
Oh, good. Yeah. Houseplants are it.
That is right. So I have 7 benefits of houseplants.
Oh, there we go. I like
Mhm.
it. So chuck that dead, dusty Christmas tree up in the attic again or out on the street curb and listen to 7 benefits of houseplants.
Well, you know, that is true. It seems like after you take down all your Christmas stuff, you look at your house and you're like, I need something else in here.
Yeah.
And houseplants are a great addition. And then houseplants plus beautiful pottery is even better. So, but 7 benefits of houseplants. First one is it reduces stress levels. So we definitely need that in our house.
I don't know. Since the kids left, it's almost quiet.
Stressful.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
No, they actually did studies. They were doing, they had you do a project, some kind of project in your house. And people who had houseplants in the room, as opposed to people who had no houseplants in the room, actually did the job better,
Interesting.
faster.
Wow.
They felt better when they were done.
Yeah.
So it can definitely add to less stress. So put some houseplants in your offices. Those of you that have home offices or even your office at work,
Yeah.
put some houseplants in there. Bring that
Accountants,
stress level
you need houseplants because tax season's on us.
Yeah.
Of course,
CPAs.
attorneys always need more houseplants.
Right.
So, yep.
Definitely. The number 2 is it'll sharpen your attention. So this was kind of cool. They did a study of kids in a classroom. And so they did one with fake plant, no plant, a picture of a plant, and a real plant. And those kids that were in classrooms with real plants actually paid attention better.
That's impressive.
Isn't
Wow.
that
Doesn't
neat?
surprise me.
I know. I thought that was really cool. And then number 3 is working with plants. So in England, they're actually prescribing. So people that have, just depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff, they're actually prescribing you to go get houseplants.
Oh,
And
wow.
you're supposed to take care of them.
Not a community garden or health
repot.
garden,
No.
not a garden. Just have plants.
Right.
Go shop for plants, take a plant home with you and do something
And
with
care
it.
for it.
Really?
Mhm. Yeah, repotting, watering, trimming, all that kind of stuff. So really helped with mental illness. They also help you recover from illness faster.
Oh.
So if you've been sick, if you're just not feeling good, whatever, get some houseplants in your bedrooms.
Thus,
and
flowers for people in the hospital.
There you go.
That's probably the reason why we just
Could
your
be.
grandmother intuitively knew what to do, but now we got science to back it up.
Yeah, so help you heal faster. They also can boost productivity, make you do
That's
things
weird.
better,
No
faster.
wonder they're so productive here at the garden center.
They also improve your outlook on work. So there again, going back to those offices,
Right.
cubicles, home offices, get some houseplants in there to make your attitude better and your work better.
Yeah,
Make
I'm
your boss
seeing
happy.
that. I've got a CEO kind of group, mastermind
Mhm.
group I kind of deal with once a month. We're seeing some of the new office spaces coming online because we'll meet at different places.
Ah.
And houseplants, big open, big kitchen, and lots of houseplants. That is a thing.
Hmm.
That's the new to get people to come back into the office. That's what
Mhm.
it takes. Big open areas.
No more little tiny cubicles.
No cubicles are out.
Well,
The big
good.
spaces. Or if they do have cubicles, there's a big space to kind of decompress
Ah,
with. There's
okay.
big rooftop
Mhm.
cafes, all kinds of stuff going on. It's
Cool.
really, really interesting.
Interesting. Well, number 7 is it can improve air quality in
Oh.
your home. So there's 7 good reasons to think about houseplants for you. If you're kind of hesitant and like, I don't know about houseplants, I got brown thumbs, I hear that all the time. So there's a group of plants that are just super easy to grow. Dracaenas, super easy, hardly ever have to water
You
them.
can't kill a Dracaena.
You
You
have to
just
work
can't kill
at it, honestly. ZZ plants.
You cannot
they
kill a
again,
ZZ.
Those are so easy, low light, low water, but they look tropical.
Yeah.
I mean, they look like they need
They're
a
a succulent,
rainforest to live in.
so they're like a
very
cactus.
thick leaf. Chinese evergreen. which comes in all kinds of colors and shapes and different things. It's a family of plants, does really, really well. Super easy as well. Pothos, who can't grow pothos?
Easy. Yep.
Succulents and cacti. This is, so I kind of redid one of our rooms, and I put a bunch of cactus and succulents in there. They didn't require a lot of work, but they just really add color and texture and coolness to the room.
So 7 reasons. We're out of time, my dear. Thank you. I know you're going to keep going, but the notes, you got like a huge legal pad of advice. So you have to come in and talk to Lisa this week. So Ken and Lisa Lane, the Mountain Gardeners. We'll be right back right after this.
Look for more tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts through Ken's website. Podcast the show, read his weekly garden column, or follow him on Facebook and Instagram at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com.
Once upon a time, Fred the Sage and Bob the Yucca watched a herd of deer eat their neighbor's garden.
Hey, Bob.
Said Fred.
It's a good thing we're native Arizona plants from Waters Garden Center.
Right, Fred.
Said Bob.
We can handle tough Prescott dirt, hot sun, low water, and we look great in the garden.
You betcha, Bob.
Said Fred.
Hummingbirds and bees love us, but that deer sure doesn't.
Be like Fred and Bob. Go native at Waters Garden Center. Safe, natural, and organic.
Did you know that plants can help you sleep better naturally?
At Waters Garden Center, we have beautiful houseplants that not only look great, they clean the air we breathe.
Get this. Some plants can actually produce oxygen at night and even take mold spores out of the air, making for less tossing and turning and more beauty sleep.
Don't lose sleep. Rise and shine with unique, gorgeous houseplants for your best rest yet at Waters Garden Center.
Sweet dreams. Welcome to the Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane. Gardening in the mountains is different. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now for better advice that works locally, welcome your host, Ken Lane.
As we thaw, get past these storms, so it's kind of nice to get the moisture. We need this, especially up in the mountains. We need that snowpack that will help us out through spring and next summer. It just makes a difference. It'll help the wildflowers. They're actually absorbing this, and you'll see as soon as we get a nice bright day or bright week, the wildflowers will start to grow. Already I was looking at some of my mums, so chrysanthemums. They're starting to sprout. You can see them coming, just starting to emerge from the ground. The buds, the leaf buds and flower buds on your spring blooming. So red buds, apples and pears, the lilacs, the buds, flower buds are huge right now. This storm is really going to play out and make it's going to be a beautiful spring. We need 2 or 3 more of these through the end of March, and boy, it sets the stage for really nice gardening for this coming spring, this coming year. It's 2022. Yay! So things to watch for. It's time to prune. We've been dedicated a couple segments to this topic, pruning. We covered perennials. We can go into real details on very specifics, how to prune a rose or a camellia or a holly or a hedgerow, junipers, fruit trees. I don't have time for that. And it's too much detail to articulate over the airwaves. I can refer you to some great resources. I've written several articles on this. Now, there's no books specifically for the mountains of Arizona, this high altitude gardening. It's kind of on my list to write. It's going to take 3 months in the winter to pull this off, and I don't have the time right now. But I do write a garden column, 2 of them, every single week. And so those get posted to our website. And so watersgardencenter.com. Just go to our company website, and every article, every video, every garden class we do gets posted there. So it's kind of our repository, and it's not just a static website. This is a living, breathing, organic garden content for all of this zone 5 through 9 garden zones. So for our types of gardening, it's good for us. There's a search bar in the upper right-hand corner. Look for that and just type in pruning. And all the garden pruning articles, how to prune fruit trees. So there's 8 steps to pruning fruit trees. I just wrote that one. Pruning advice. That's a good one. I'm going to go over that one right now. Pruning roses. On and on and on. So it's a good resource, and they're all for here. It's not just something downloaded from Google and pirated and thrown on here. No, this is actually when you do it, how you do it for our specific kind of plants here in the mountains of Arizona, which is a little different than, let's say, Chicago or California or the South. This is totally different. We're more like Denver than anything else. But even they're different than us. So that's where to go. watersgardencenter.com. Type in pruning in the search bar. The bot will go curate everything for you. But in a nutshell, some plants you just don't even know where to begin. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you where to begin. Or as I'm looking at a plant and I'm trying to figure out where do I start, always start with dead branches or damaged branches, broken branches, disease that's got the bark to crack on it, or it's off color. You'll know because you look at it and go, that doesn't look that healthy. Cut it out of there. Just start with that. Dead wood is never good. Any kind of dead branch attracts more death and decay. So there are certain insects that roam around the forest, like bark beetle, flathead borers. There's all kinds of insects that just look for dead stuff in branches, which means that they're saying that plant is in trouble. It could be an easy meal. Let's go land and see if we can eat this thing. And so they're looking for that. Certain woodpeckers will come in. They're attracted because they know bugs are attracted to dead wood. And so woodpeckers are attracted to plants with dead wood because they're thinking bugs will be there. It's a protein source. There's this whole nature thing that happens. Point being, no matter what, get rid of dead wood. It's any time of year, take it out of there. But start with that. A broken branch, it got damage in a snowstorm, windstorm. Cut that out of there. And now all of a sudden it'll either leave a gaping hole you need to compensate for, or now you can start shaping, you can start seeing the inside. Any damaged or diseased kind of stuff. Roses, I'm thinking shrubs. A lot of times you'll see it's a green branch, but then it's got this purpley off color to it, or spotting. The bark is starting to lift and peel. No, that's not so good. So get rid of that. You don't want it, so start with that. Usually by the time you've kind of thinned out and cleared some of this stuff out, you go, oh, you can start to see where to start next. From there, I'll go for branches that are growing the wrong direction. So if a branch is growing towards the center of a tree, that's not good. It's actually encroaching or just kind of overpowering the canopy of that plant. Let's say it's a maple or an aspen or redwood, whatever it is. It's growing to the inside. Fruit trees especially, plums, they're notorious for growing into themselves. Cut those out of there. Things that circle back around and grow to the center, get it out of there. I also look for, let's say, I'm 6'2", and I do not want to duck when I walk underneath my shade trees or my evergreens. I would just want to walk through with confidence and not think about dinging my head. So I'll prune my branches up, and then anything growing down to the ground that might catch me in the eye or in the forehead, I'm pruning that out. So anything growing towards the ground, you don't want it to grow to the ground. You want it to grow up to the sky, to the moon. Prune those things out of there. So locusts are really notorious for having these long tendrils that grow right back to the ground. Cut them back. Mesquites can do that for you folks in the lower elevations. The autumn blaze maple, that red maple, it gets these wild hairs that just grow in one long branch right to the ground. Start with that. Once you get some dead branches out of there, some damaged branches and things growing back to the ground, things that are growing into themselves, back or crossing branches, now all of a sudden you can start to see what really needs to start happening. It gets rid of a lot of that inside area that just is overgrown. It causes damage, attracts bugs, encourages disease, leaf spots, and that kind of curls. And so it really, really helps. Then we have to go to, I just want it to stay smaller. I don't want it to get too big. Well, now I'll start to prune it back, get it back to the size that I want. This is really important for things like butterfly bush, lilacs, forsythia. Some of them get really big, but I only want it to be head high. Well, then cut it back. I should go into, which ones to prune. We started out with prioritizing. Prune your summer blooming plants back now. Prune your fruit trees back now. This is the time. January is perfect time for doing all of those. Hold off on pruning your, let's say, borderline plants. I said hold off on waiting on Salvia greggii, on roses. Wait till March. By then, yes, we can still get frost. We can still have some snow, but that bitter, single digits kind of cold, that chill you through your bones kind of cold, that's over. I mean, it's going to be beautiful during the day. Yes, a storm can come and dump 4 inches on us, but it's melted by the end of the day. That's March. It's not that bad of weather. It's good. It's a real heavy snow. But keep that structure up over those autumn sages so it helps protect the heart of that plant. On your roses, so it protects the crown of the rose. Kind of wait. Prune those back in March. Things that are blooming in summer, prune them back right now. Spring bloomers are unique. Do not prune back the very early spring blooming plants. Don't prune back camellias. They're starting to bloom. They'll be in bloom by the end of the month. They're winter bloomers. If you prune them back now, that won't damage the health, but you'll lose all the flowers. Don't prune back lilacs now. Enjoy the blossoms. They'll be in bloom by the end of March and April through May. As soon as they're done blooming, then prune them back. If you prune them back now, it doesn't damage the heart of the plant. You just take all the flower buds off. And so enjoy the flowers, then cut it right back. So early spring things, you're pruning after they're done blooming. So that'd be lilacs, forsythia, quince, camellias. There's a whole rhodies, azaleas. There's a whole bunch of them. Wait to prune those back. So prioritize them. I got more for you, but I'm coming up on a hard break here. I'll be right back right after this.
You're listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, the owner of Waters Garden Center. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center, located in Prescott at 1815 Iron Springs Road. Thanks for tuning in to The Mountain Gardener.
Wondering why my garden looks amazing? Well, that's personal. The personal garden shopper service at Waters Garden Center, that is. Before talking with my personal shopper, I had no idea which plants would be best for me. But now my garden is bursting with flowers and buzzing with hummingbirds. Just go to watersgardencenter.com, click on Shop, and choose Personal Garden Shopper. A Waters Garden expert will pick the perfect plants for you, personally. The Personal Garden Shopper, only at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
Hi, Lisa with the plants of the week and our single blue pinyon pine.
This new blue variety lends to a tidy appearance in a bold, tough tree.
Highly desirable for its edible pine nuts, so eat up.
Let it grow wild. Or this 10-foot tree can be shaped for the holidays.
These perfectly formed trees are just $85 and only found at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Where people who love native pines and pine nuts, they love to shop.
You've tuned in to The Mountain Gardener with local garden expert Ken Lane. Join him each week as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
We've been talking pruning. The main thing I can encourage you, so many folks thinks it's almost like they're pruning off limbs of a puppy dog or something. They're just afraid, they're paralyzed to make a mistake. It's virtually impossible to make a mistake pruning because you're going to fertilize right afterwards. When you're done pruning, this is usually February, March, so you got some time. You got a few weeks. Finish your pruning. You're going to hose down the entire yard, everything in the garden, especially if you have a bunch of blooming, fruiting things. You want to put dormant oil or horticultural oil. That's what you'll spray everything that remains. That's what's going to clean up that yard so you don't get disease, insect eggs. It just cleans, so you start the spring growing season out clean. So that's the next thing. Then right after that, you're fertilizing. The month of March is some of the most important fertilizing for the spring season there is. So March is when you fertilize. If you make a mistake and you cut back too far, fertilize it, it'll grow its way right out of it. You're not pruning limbs off of puppy dogs. It's like giving a haircut to a beautiful gal. It's going to come right back more voluptuous as ever. And so that's what a plant, they respond positively to a haircut. They just do better with pruning. They need to be pruned back some to shape them, to get them to grow in the right direction. So don't be afraid. You're going to fertilize your way out of any mistakes. It's okay. Again, for details, check my website, watersgardencenter.com, WATTERS, watersgardencenter.com. And it's a huge resource of plants. In the upper right-hand corner, it's got a search bar because there's so much content on this. Again, I'm writing 2 garden columns every week. We're doing a lot of YouTube videos. We just passed 1 million YouTube downloads. They're all posted or reference on our website. That's the go-to. Yes, you can go out and go look at YouTube from there, but we've got a search bar that goes, oh, we'll look for this. And so it's kind of, there's some really good articles. I've got the 8 steps to pruning fruit trees, how to prune roses or rose pruning, another one called pruning advice, just a general catch-all. As far as angles, it's got pictures, how far back, how to take a big limb off. There's a lot into this. The entire books are written on how to prune. More than just a 10-minute segment on a really great garden show here in the mountains of Arizona. Use that. It'll really, really help guide you through, and print them out, give them to friends, share them with folks. It's meant to help you be a better gardener at this higher altitude here in Arizona. We also offer, it's starting up. The spring is like right around the corner. It's kind of exciting. I can't wait. So we're booking all of our plants are plugged. We know which ones we're going to harvest. Some of them have already been harvested and shifted into containers. They're rooting out now. They'll be here in several weeks. So it's all kind of starting at the farm level very shortly, within 2-3 weeks, by the end of January, 3 weeks or less. Plants will be shipped. They'll be filling up the garden center. Not all of them at once. We don't have tomatoes yet. Those don't come until the end of March, first part of April. Then there are just waves of them after that. But they're plugged and they're starting to grow. It's kind of exciting. From a farmer, it's plug them and wait till they mature and get going. But we do offer garden classes every Saturday at 9:30. And they're going to start January 15th. We start with happy, healthy houseplants with professional style. Lisa teaches that one, I think, with my daughter, Mackenzie. And then we go with top landscape flair. That's how to design a landscape. I'll teach that one, maybe with Michelle or Doug, some of my professionals. January 29th, how to grow wildflowers. January's the time. So those are all at watersgardencenter.com. There's a big classes button right there on the front page. You can't miss it. They're all free. Saturdays at 9:30. They're meant to help you be a better gardener this spring, especially if you're new to the area. It's really, really helpful. Well, Ken and Lisa Lane here at Waters Garden Center. Throughout the week, we camp out here at the Garden Center. Love talking to fans of the show. As the days get longer and brighter, houseplants can struggle and scorch, but we have the solution.
At Waters, we've organized our houseplants from A to Z for the brightest of sunny locations, many even bloom.
With experts that know plants and how to make them grow.
Shipments of the freshest houseplants in town have just arrived from A to Z and ready for a bright new home.
Waters Garden Center, where people who love bright green houseplants, they love to shop, found in Prescott.
If you want a more fruitful garden, increase success in your landscape that just feels better, then tune in every week to The Mountain Gardener. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.